Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 334 of the podcast. I may have said the wrong episode number last week. It was actually 333. I may have said 332, but regardless, here we are all together again, episode 334. Today is Sunday, October 15th. We're halfway through October, if you can believe it. And if you happen to catch the minute and a half or so of the episode I attempted to record, I had to go offline real quick because I was told by my buddy Mark Fellows that I was getting some bad microphone feedback. So I have to go with the old headphone microphone now. So thanks, Mark, for pointing that out. I'm glad I was only a minute into the episode. Luckily, you were there at the ready, my producer by proxy, to let me know I was having some audio issues. Maybe time to upgrade the microphone. I've been using this same microphone for the 7 years I've been doing this podcast. Let's see, 2016. Yeah, 7 years. Wow. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. And here we are. My buddy Matt the Mechanic is on the line, 0-2 in his parlay picks. If you guys caught the episode last week, of course, the picks episodes are exclusive to YouTube. So if you're an audio-only listener, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube so you can get Matt's horrible parlay picks. I can't blame him too much this week. So he did get one out of his three correct, and another one I'm going to give him a pass on. We'll get into that. So we're kind of off of UFC Fight Night. UFC Vegas 81, Edson Barboza and Sodiq Yusuff. Good card. It was fun. I didn't get to watch it live. Went away for the weekend with the family. We went upstate a ways, about 2.5 hours upstate, just outside of Gainesville, or pretty far outside of Gainesville, actually. And we stayed on a farm up there, Airbnb. It was cool. My daughter got to play with the animals. She got to pet a chicken, so she had a good time. And then we went to Fanning Springs, which is a cool little state park. Did about a mile hike through the woods, which was about the most my daughter could handle. And then we were able to jump in the springs. Matt the Mechanic and Mark Fellows are getting into a little feud in the comments here. I think we have a rivalry in the making because Matt's picks are not doing well. So Mark is calling him the Temple of Doom. And I love it. So in any case, if you want to catch the picks episode, we do about 20 minutes to a half hour Thursday nights. They haven't been live yet, but they are available on YouTube. So we've been doing that. At this point, you may want to assume that Matt's going to get 1 out of 3 right, and maybe just try and figure out which one it's going to be and bet on that fight. Mark says he bet the opposite of what Matt said and he made a fortune. Oh boy. All right. So let's get into this fight card, shall we? So Edson Barboza, Sodiq Yusuff, main event here for these two featherweights. First main event for both of them, I believe. First round was kind of surprising because Sodiq Yusuff did exactly what I said he needed to do, which is pressure Barboza and get right in his face. Damn near knocked him out, but the experience of Barboza and the conditioning, he was able to recover. I believe 2 of the 3 judges gave Sodiq Yusuff a 10-8 in that first round. I don't know what that third judge was looking at. It clearly should have been a 10-8 because if that round was a little bit longer, he would have been knocked out. Barboza able to recover. And then whatever happened after that round, Yusuff got away from that game plan. He stopped pressuring forward and started eating the body shots of Barboza. And I think once he ate a couple of them, he didn't want to close that distance as much anymore. So Barboza comes back, wins the second round. I would have given Barboza a 10-8 in the third, personally, because he almost knocked Yusuff out in the third. And I think Barboza won every single round after that. The fourth round was kind of close. But yeah, I gave Barboza the second, Barboza the third, 10-8, and then fourth and fifth, I also gave to Barboza. So he comes away with the unanimous decision. I don't know what it was with Yusuff. I don't know if he just hit a mental hurdle or something, or, maybe he had like a big adrenaline dump because he thought he was going to finish the fight. It was close to being stopped. I mean, Herb Dean was taking a good look at it. So it could be some combination of the two. So maybe because he had that adrenaline dump, he went back to his fighting style that he's comfortable with, because he's not comfortable being that pressuring fighter, even though it was working so well for him in that first round. And similar thing happened with Billy Quarantello when he fought Barboza. He was doing such a great job on the feet, and I think he almost surprised himself. So he felt like he had to go for the takedown and get it to the ground, because he anticipated that's where he was going to have an advantage, and turned out to be not the best choice. So, Barboza's been around for so long. I mean, you're not going to throw anything at this guy that he hasn't seen before. So it was experience and it was conditioning. I mean, at 37 years old, the guy is completely shredded. I don't know what his diet is like, or what kind of supplements he's taking, but for 37 years old, kind of looking like USADA's already gone from the UFC. Not making any accusations. In any case, awesome performance by Edson Barboza. So what's going to be next for him? What do we do next with Edson Barboza? Let me pull up the rankings, because as usual, I didn't have them in front of me to start. All right, featherweight rankings. Sodiq Yusuff was ranked 11th. Barboza was 13th. I imagine they're just going to switch places. Let's see. Have we seen Barboza and Giga Chikadze? Did they fight? I feel like they fought. I don't know who I'm asking. I'm just going to look it up here. Yes. So he has a TKO loss to Giga Chikadze. Okay. And he also has a loss to Bryce Mitchell. 2-fight winning streak here, just outside of the top 10. Maybe we do Edson Barboza and Josh Emmett. That's a fun fight. I would like to see Edson Barboza and Calvin Kattar. That's another one that could be fun. And not right now, we can't do this because he's ranked so high, but Edson Barboza and Yair Rodriguez would just be bananas. That would be a fun fight. So there's some good options. As far as Sodiq Yusuff, maybe Sodiq Yusuff and Dan Ige. That could be a fun one. In any case, good win for Barboza. Co-main event, Viviane Araujo, unanimous decision over Jennifer Maia. Didn't see it. Let me know if it was worth watching. Moving on down the line, Jonathan Martinez, TKO over Adrian Yanez. And Brendan Fitzgerald was saying Yanez, and I don't know if that's right. I don't know if there's one of those squiggly accents over the end. I'm going to go with Yanez for now, because Yanez doesn't sound correct to me. But, I mean, he's the professional, so. But I think even if it is Yanez, I think I'm going to stick with Yanez. It just flows off the tongue better. I feel like it's too much of a tongue twister to add that extra emphasis on the end. But whatever, I don't want to offend the guy either. So Jonathan Martinez wins the first round on all three judges' scorecards. And was beating up the legs and then hits just a nasty inside calf kick. And Yanez hit the ground, was not able to continue. So Kerry Hadley had to call it there. It was crazy to see him drop in so much pain. Okay, so Matt Temple says he changed it this week. What, he changed his name this week, or he changed the pronunciation of his name? I don't know. I think we need to all band together and let them know, like, it needs to stay Yanez. I think for the foreseeable future, we got to go with that. I don't think I could wrap my head around saying Yanez on a regular basis. So sorry, Adrian. Or maybe we'll just stick with his first name. Yo, Adrian. In any case, nasty leg kicks from Jonathan Martinez. He becomes the second person, I believe, in the UFC to have multiple stoppages by leg kicks. And the other one was Edson Barboza. So nasty, man. And I thought when they were talking about it on the broadcast, I thought they were going to say the other one was Pedro Hizzo, because Pedro Hizzo had those thunderous leg kicks where he was just breaking dudes in half. But I guess he never had TKOs from those. He would just beat up the legs and then, knock people out with punches. But if you're in that bantamweight division, you got to be worried about those kicks of Jonathan Martinez. Man, he's brutal with those things. And those calf kicks are no joke. They're hard to defend. Even if you check them, they still hurt. So Jonathan Martinez is a problem. He's not going to, I don't think he's going to bump up too much in the rankings from this fight, but let's see, maybe like Jonathan Martinez and Rob Font, or Jonathan Martinez and Song Yadong. I think a lot of people have been sleeping on Jonathan Martinez. I think he's ready to move up, step up in competition here, because, man, the kid is good. He's got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins in a row, including an upset over Saeed Nurmagomedov. He's got a win over Cub Swanson in the UFC. Let's see, his only losses in the UFC were Davey Grant, Andre Ewell, and Andre Sukumtat. Yeah, I'd say let's bump this guy up. Give him a top 10 fight for sure. I think there's a lot of fun fights here. Maybe give him Umar Nurmagomedov. Let him be the Nurmagomedov hunter. That'd be fun. In any case, great performance. Michel Pereira making quick work of Andre Petroski. So Pereira finally moving up to middleweight after missing weight 15 times at welterweight and robbing us of a Wonder Boy fight the last time out, because he decided to just like stop cutting weight, whatever he was, 12 pounds over or something. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I can do that. It's my show. So finally makes the move to middleweight, which I think a lot of us have been wanting for a while, and makes quick work of Petroski. Just straight right hand right down the pipe, which is the last thing you would expect from Pereira, because he's always with the wild flying stuff. So Petroski had kind of a wide guard to prepare for the spinning attacks and the flying stuff. And Pereira threw a wrench in the works and put a right hand right down the pipe. This one kind of went how I thought it would go after seeing Petroski strike against Gerald Meerschaert. A fellow grappler. They decided to have a boxing match in their last fight, and it wasn't pretty. So Pereira probably watched that and, decided he was going to go in there and just blast Petroski, which is exactly what he did. Pereira is a fun addition to this middleweight division. I think you throw him right into the top 15 next, no? After a performance like that. Maybe Anthony Hernandez. That'd be a fun fight. He would stand with him. Nasruddin Mavov and Michel Pereira would be fun. Chris Curtis and Michel Pereira. That would be cool because they're both kind of like not huge middleweights and they're both strikers. That would be a really fun fight. Yeah, I think Chris Curtis and Michel Pereira. And then eventually down the line, look at the matchups we could get. Roman Dolidze and Michel Pereira would be fun. Pereira and Adesanya would be a fun fight. I would hope for Pereira's sake it wouldn't be a main event. Although, maybe at middleweight his cardio would improve. All right, so this was another pick of Matt's parlay. Christian Rodriguez missed weight by 5 pounds, and he was able to throw that weight around against Cameron Saaiman. So Matt picked Saaiman here, but I'm going to give him a pass because he had picked him before it was revealed that Rodriguez was going to miss weight. So this was a 140-pound catch weight. And, if you look at the statistics of guys and girls who miss weight, they have a winning record. Usually, if you're the fighter that misses weight and the fight goes on at a catch weight, you're more likely to win. And maybe it's because of the weight advantage. Maybe it's because they didn't, fully drain themselves cutting the weight. So who knows what the deal is with Rodriguez, but man, at least be close, come within a pound or two if you're going to miss. I mean, you're going to miss by 5 pounds. That's just have a little more self-respect. All right, Darren Elkins doing what he does, coming through late in the fight, submission over TJ Brown. Has anybody taken more beatings than Darren Elkins and come out on top with those late finishes? He's got to be the king of that, right? I mean, it's just his MO. He gets bloodied up, loses most of the fight, and then, comes back with, some late miracle submission. So just scanning over his resume here. Yeah, he's done it so many times. 3rd round finishes. I mean, the Mirsad Bektic fight was one of the best examples where he pulled that knockout out of nowhere in the 3rd round. So 39 years old, says he's nowhere near done, thinks he's just hitting his prime. He says to Michael Bisping at the end of the fight. So good for you, Darren Elkins. You go out there and keep representing us old guys. Okay. Here's the question. How much would you Mark Fellows says, how much would you accept to get a damaged tattoo? John Anik would do it for $500,000, which is surprising because I think John Anik's bank account looks a lot better than mine. I would assume anyway. I mean, does it have to be the full chest tattoo? The full chest damage tattoo? Is that what we're talking about here? Let me pull this up on the screen so I can really contemplate my life. I don't know, man. I don't think 500,000 is going to cut it. I think we may have to go a full million tax-free to get this across my chest. Although, you know what? I'm half Italian, so if I got this tattoo, once my chest hair grows back, you're barely gonna see it. So maybe I would do the half a mil. All right. All right. If somebody wants to put up, I gotta go higher than Anik though. I'll say 600,000. 600,000, I'll get this damage tattoo on my chest. Um, God, I won't be happy about it, but yeah, that's my number, Mark. 600 grand. And no, I wouldn't do it for a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. I've had Pappy before. Of course it's one of the rarest bourbons out there. Um, I have had it before, but it was before I was really into bourbon, so I didn't fully appreciate it. Was the thing. I had it at a bar in Charleston, South Carolina, and I just ordered it because it had a funny name and it was expensive. I wanted to try an expensive whiskey. I think I paid like $24 for a shot of it, and I think that would cost way more anywhere else now. So maybe the only time I'll ever have it, but at least I can say I tried it. But yeah, to get that damage tattoo across my chest like that, we're talking 600 grand. So if you want to cut that check, we got plenty of tattoo parlors. I live in Florida. They have them like they have tattoo parlors like in the elementary schools here. Kids get their first tattoos at school. You just have to sign like a separate permission slip, and the kids can pick out their own tattoos, whatever they want. Um, Tainara Lisboa, unanimous decision over Ravina Oliveira. Didn't see it. Terrence McKinney, TKO over Brendan Marat. And this was one we were talking about last week because the odds were so big. Maybe throwing a couple of bucks on Marat. I'm glad I didn't. So McKinney comes out, hits him with a really nice knee. It wasn't even a flying knee, it was a standing knee that caught him right on the chin. And the fight could have been stopped there. It really could have. They're calling it like on Sherdog, it says TKO from knee and punches, but technically speaking, the way the fight went down, he dropped him with the knee, and then it was the punches that caused the TKO, but he went down stiff from that knee. I think it very well could have been stopped as soon as he hit the mat, and he probably would have had another like 7 or 8 second knockout on his record. But here we are, Terrence McKinney, 20-second knockout. I mean, the power on this kid is insane. He reminds me of a young Melvin Gillard, um, because Melvin Gillard fought very similarly. He was very explosive, had crazy knockout power, but then if you were able to drag him into deep waters or get him to the ground, he was in trouble. And that was kind of the blueprint to beat Melvin Gillard. But he was still such an exciting fighter because you never knew when he was going to fight that first few minutes. It was like playing with dynamite, and that's kind of what it's like with Terrence McKinney. So I think he's a little more polished than Melvin Gillard was, and a little more well-rounded, and probably even has more diverse striking. So I think he's got a bright future. I still don't understand what he was doing on the prelims. This kid is must-see TV. He's got star power written all over him. I I think he's disliked within the community because of stuff he says or something. Some people don't seem to like him. I don't know what it's about. I don't know what he said. I don't know what he did. I quite honestly don't really want to know. I enjoy watching him fight. And here was the last pick on Matt's parlay. Melissa Dixon beats Irina Alekseeva by unanimous decision. So Matt had Alekseeva winning that one. The Russian Ronda, they call her, something like that. But Melissa Dixon showing why she was undefeated coming into her UFC debut, or at least I think so. Anyway, let me look that up now that I said it. Yeah, okay. So she's 6-0. Her nickname is No Mess. All right. What's that about? Melissa No Mess Dixon. Or is it No Mess Melissa Dixon? That sounds better. Either way, I don't get it. Chris Gutierrez, unanimous decision over Hailey Alatang and Emily Ducati. Unanimous decision over Ashley Yoder. Solid card overall, I thought. Very solid. Let's talk about next week. I guess I have to address the elephant in the room that was the Logan Paul and Dillon Danis debacle. I did not watch this fight. I definitely did not pay money for it. All I saw was clips on Twitter. Uh so apparently Dillon Danis tried to put Logan Paul in a guillotine with boxing gloves on and got up from the ground and started swinging before the ref said that they could fight, and then a whole bunch of people got in the ring and Dillon started swinging at a security guard. I don't know if this shit was real or if it was staged, but I just want it to be done. I don't want this being part of the combat sports community anymore. The Paul brothers, Dillon Danis, all the drama, like that's enough. Can we agree as a community to just exile all of them and just to some like reality TV island where we don't have to bear witness to this shit anymore? Uh the whole thing was just goofy. Even Dillon Danis attacking Logan Paul's fiance, calling her out for all the men she slept with, and um I wanted to ignore it, but it's so hard. It's so hard to ignore because it's all like it's actually the reason why I kind of stopped going on to Twitter for a while and stuck to Instagram and YouTube instead, and that's kind of where I put my focus because Twitter was just riddled with this stuff. I mean, I don't understand. It doesn't even seem like it was an actual boxing match. So, and the end, like so many people got in the ring at the end. It was either fake or it's just a joke. The whole thing is a joke. Um, I can't take these guys serious as athletes. Uh, I can't take Dillon Danis serious as a competitor. All the guy does is talk on the internet. He's basically a troll. I mean, he has gotten in there. He's had a couple of Bellator fights where they put him in there. He didn't throw a single punch. They put him in there against like white belts in jiu-jitsu. And he got some submissions. But yeah, can we just be done with all this now? All this like circus stuff, and we'll just focus on real fights and real fighters, which is what we have coming up next week. Oh, I already have the screen shared. So here we go. UFC 294. This card is phenomenal. So, of course, we've talked about this at length. I talked about it on the Picks show with Matt on Thursday. Of course, Charles Oliveira is out. He sustained a cut in sparring, and he had to pull out of this fight last minute. For some reason, a lot of people had a feeling he was going to pull out of this fight, but I mean, even if you had a feeling that you couldn't have predicted he was going to get cut, and I don't think he faked getting cut just to get out of this fight. So I don't think it's any kind of like prophecy here. I mean, if he had pulled out with an injury that we couldn't see, it would be different. then you could kind of say like, oh, I knew he was going to pull out with something, but I don't think he's going to put a gash on his face just so he doesn't have to fight Makhachev. Because otherwise, why wouldn't he just not sign for the fight? In any case, Mark Fellows says, I hope Matt is picking Makhachev. That should be enough to guarantee victory for Volk. Mark, you shouldn't have said that because now he's going to pick Volkanovski just to make you sweat. I think it's gonna go by the odds too because Matt's been favoring underdogs here, so we have to see who the underdogs are for this card. What's with the cookies, sure dog? Yeah, so this is an interesting one. Obviously, last minute for Volkanovski. I don't think the guy's ever out of shape, and he's moving up a weight class. There's a lot of variables here. Obviously, this is a rematch. Volkanovski, in his mind, beat Makhachev the last time and thought he was robbed of a decision. So going in with that mindset is a good thing. He's also going in with the mindset that he has nothing to lose because he's coming in on 11 days notice. He hasn't prepared for this fight, even though he's prepared for this fighter before. And I'm sure he's been training for him since because he's been calling for this rematch. So it's been fresh in his mind. Makhachev, I think we're going to see a different version of him than we saw the first time against Volkanovski. So the first time they fought, he was in a jurisdiction where he didn't get as much rehydration time after the weight cut, which could have affected his performance, especially as the fight went on. So now in Abu Dhabi, he's going to have the full time to rehydrate. He was preparing to fight a grappler in Charles Oliveira. So he's probably preparing to go to the ground. It's going to be interesting. I'm not saying who I think will win, but I think we're going to see a very different fight than we did the first time. I think both guys are going to approach it differently. Um, both of these guys are guys who have learned from their mistakes. Volkanovski got, kind of gifted a decision against Max Holloway. It was a fight a lot of people thought Max Holloway won, and then he was able to come back in the third fight and just dismantle him. So I don't know which way to lean on this because Makhachev is a guy too who I'm sure is going to adapt. I'm sure he's going to have, a lot of pressure from his camp saying that he needs to smash this guy because they can't have that doubt remaining. Yeah. Okay. So Joe with 3 E's says, you think Khabib being in Islam's corner this time is going to make a difference? As far as I know, Khabib is not going to be in his corner. Khabib is done cornering. I know there was footage of him showing up for some training sessions. To my understanding, he still trains with Islam and still coaches him, but he's done cornering, as far as I know anyway. Because I remember Usman Nurmagomedov was asked this question after his last win, how he felt about Khabib cornering Islam, and he said that Khabib is not cornering Islam. If he does, I think it would be a surprise to all of us. And man, I don't know. I don't know if that would change things. I guess it would. Khabib is an excellent corner, man. Joe says his source is Javier Mendez. Yeah, I mean, I guess he would know. I mean, did he say that Khabib would corner him or that Khabib's been coaching him? Because there's two different things. If he's coaching him in the gym, doesn't necessarily mean he'll be in his corner. It would be very interesting, if he made like a last minute decision to be in his corner and to be a corner man again. But from what I understand, Khabib has retired from being a fighter and from being a corner man, even though he still coaches in the gym. Let's see, co-main event. It's a bummer that this one fell apart, but this is going to be an interesting matchup. So Paulo Costa, of course, had elbow surgery, and he thought he was going to be able to recover in time to fight, but there were complications with the surgery. He had to go back in a second and may have to go back a third time. I don't know the details, but obviously after 2 or 3 surgeries, he's not going to be able to turn around and get in there and fight. And man, you wouldn't think anybody would step up to fight Chimaev on such short notice. But here you have Kamaru Usman doing the thing, man. 11 days notice. It's crazy. I mean, his only losses are to the champ Leon Edwards at 170 pounds and, one submission loss way early in his career before he even really knew jiu-jitsu. He's willing to put all that on the line on 11 days notice and get in there and fight the boogeyman in Chimaev, who's, undefeated, was forced to move up to middleweight, much like Michel Pereira, who we were talking about earlier, because he was having trouble with the weight. Still a beast at middleweight, though. I mean, he's had fights at middleweight, demolished Gerald Meerschaert at middleweight. So who knows what we're going to see here? What kind of Usman are we going to see? I mean, Usman's not a guy to ever get out of shape. I think he's always pretty disciplined with his diet. Always seems to be in the gym. Is he in fight shape, though? We're going to see. And I'm interested to see the grappling exchanges here. Chimaev may have an advantage in the power on the feet, although Usman's got some pop as well, too. I mean, will he bring more of it back up to middleweight? Has he been preparing to go up to middleweight? Is he putting on muscle? Because he's talked about it for a long time. And the only reason he never did make the move is because he's buddies with Adesanya, and he didn't want to move up to middleweight while Adesanya was the champion because he thought it would be disrespectful. Now, current champion Sean Strickland, Usman has a win over him at welterweight. So if he comes in and has an impressive performance against Chimaev, he could very easily call out Sean Strickland to fight in December or, on the first card of the year in January. Hell, last year, Sean Strickland fought, I think, on the last card of the year of 2022 and the first card of the year of 2023. If I remember correctly. I mean, feel free to correct me on that, but this is an interesting one. So big opportunity for Usman. I think a lot of people may be counting him out, maybe even questioning his motivation after the last performance against Leon Edwards. But maybe he needs something like a weight change to motivate him again, to find that spark again, to find, that hunger for a title again. And he very well has a clear path to it right now. I don't think anybody would deny if he goes out and smashes Chimaev or beats him impressively and then calls out the champ, who's going to turn that down? Sean Strickland isn't going to turn it down because he wants to get that one back. And he's not one to deny anybody an opportunity. Now, on the other side of the coin, Chimaev is dangerous everywhere. He's got knockout power. He's got the nasty wrestling. He's got submissions. Is his wrestling enough to deal with the D2 All-American and Kamaru Usman and his 30% of his knees? I don't know. After talking through it, this fight is actually more exciting to me than the Costa-Chimaev fight. That fight will always be there because these two have heat. They need to fight each other. Let's do that later. But this was like something unexpected. That's really exciting. So I think it's going to be fun. Let's see. Mark Fellows says the UFC must have offered Kamaru $500,000 and a bottle of Pappy. I don't think Kamaru Usman's as into whiskey as as we are on this show here, Mark. And by we on this show, I mean myself and the people who tune into this show. Yeah, maybe there was a bottle of Pappy involved. This is in Abu Dhabi too, so I'm sure the powers that be there are putting forth some cash to make some good fights happen as well. I'm sure his hotel room is going to have bags of cash in it, and maybe a couple of hookers, and maybe even a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, the negotiations were very quiet from both guys, from both Usman and Volkanovski. So it must have been something where they got a call and they said yes to whatever was put on the table. I'm sure it was enticing. I'm sure it was a good offer. Because remember, Volkanovski wanted it. He wanted the rematch. I don't think he cares about money. Like he probably would have been fine just taking whatever's in his contract to fight Makhachev. I don't think he would have even made a counter offer or whatever, or he would have left it up to his manager. But he probably would have told him, like, just make sure I get that fight, and that's his priority. And you have to respect that from Volkanovski. Even if you're not a fan of him or whatever, like, you have to respect the fact that he just said yes and wasn't asking for a bunch of shit, because they could have gone in a couple of different directions. I mean, I believe they still have Mateusz Gamrot as a backup fighter. I think they're still flying him in just in case something falls apart. And they had announced him as the backup fighter like a day or two before we found out that Charles Oliveira pulled out. So, they had a few options. Oh, in any case, we're going to get into this in more detail on Thursday when I break it down with Matt and he does his picks. But let's just go over the rest of this card. Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker. That's a fun one. Ankalaev, has that exciting style. But Johnny Walker has been a lot more disciplined lately. He hasn't been as wild as crazy since he started training with John Kavanaugh. So, that guy might be the Johnny Walker whisperer who is able to was able to calm him down and get him to fight smart. Ikram Aliskerov against Warley Alves at middleweight. Warley Alves moving up from welterweight. He hasn't fought in a while, I feel like. Okay, January. He fought in January. And he has a win over Kamaru Usman, doesn't he? Oh, no. Knockout loss to Kamaru Usman. My mistake. Saeed Nurmagomedov against Muin Gafurov. Let's go with Gafurov. Yeah. Nobody wants to fight Saeed Nurmagomedov. I believe the guy is ranked, right? So let's see. Bantamweight. Okay, no. Umar is ranked. Umar is the one nobody wants to fight. Okay, so Saeed is not the Nurmagomedov I was thinking of. All right. In any case, fun fight. Tim Elliott is fighting the undefeated Muhammad Makayev. Man, I'm glad I'm not on the broadcast for this. Muhammad Yahya against Trevor Peek. I think I got that one right. Peek. So I'll take it. I'll take having one right. There's a lot of fights on this card. All right, so the opening fight is, man, I'm nervous to even try this one. Sharabutin Magomedov, who's 11-0 against Bruno Silva. Let's look this guy up. His last name's Magomedov, so we know he's Russian. Look at this guy. His nickname is Shara Bullet. Okay, UFC debut. Looks like he just knocks out everybody. Look at this. Look at this scary ginger Russian motherfucker right here. Good luck, Bruno Silva. And Bruno Silva is a bad motherfucker. This guy has finished 91% of his fights by knockout. Oh boy. And this is at 170 pounds? Okay. Bruno Silva is not a 170 pounder. So this must be 185. Okay. I'm in. I'm in from start to finish on UFC 294. I can't wait to hear the odds on Thursday when we go over it with Matt. So make sure you guys are subscribed on YouTube because the Picks on the Rocks episodes, again, 20 to 30 minutes each week on Thursdays. My buddy Matt, the mechanic, it gives a 3-fight parlay, and I criticize him and ridicule him. We're not MMA handicappers. We're just having fun with it. Not that he's not putting work and research into his picks, but the whole premise is that he makes the picks and I rip them apart. So tune in for that, again, exclusively on YouTube for that one. So if you are one of the many audio only listeners and you want a little bit more MMA on the rocks in your life, then you have to finally break down and subscribe on YouTube. We're trying to get the YouTube numbers up here finally. After 7 years, I decided, maybe it's time to put out some more video content and not just be an audio guy. So here we are. We're several months into me making like the short videos and the TikToks, and I've still been posting them consistently every day. So make sure you guys subscribe everywhere: TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. I don't do Snapchat. So it was more than enough struggle for me to make a TikTok account, and that was mostly because my wife convinced me that it was a good idea. But I have no clue what I'm doing on there. There's some like cool video effects and things, but in any case, it's at MMA on the Rocks, all of those places. And if you want to grab some merchandise, Over the Top, Under the Influence, t-shirts, tank tops, and hoodies, you can do so through our friends at Team Reaper. Here's the website, reaper1.co. As always, I'll put the links in the show notes, and you can use the promo code MMA Rocks 10. Save yourself 10% on your entire order. It's hoodie season, folks. It's even officially chilly here in Florida in the mornings. So go ahead and grab your MMA on the Rocks hoodie. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'm really excited for this card. I'm excited to break it down even further on Thursday and talk about the odds and make fun of Matt's picks. And we're going to have a good time. So thanks for everybody for tuning in. Oh, one more thing. It's looking like I will be in attendance at BKFC 53. That's November 3rd in Orlando, Florida. I will be going to that. I've had press credentials for many of the BKFC events in the past, especially in the Tampa and Orlando area. So I will be there for that. So if you plan on attending that, I will see you there. Headliner is my buddy Dave the Redneck Mondell, who I plan to get on the show before that fight at some point. He's fighting Doug Coltrane in the main event, and I have a couple of other buddies fighting on that card as well. So I will be in attendance for BKFC 53 in Orlando, November 3rd. So if you want to catch me in person, I don't go out of the house much, folks, unless my family's dragging me on a trip. I don't go out and socialize a whole lot. That's why my house is stocked full of booze, because I stay here. But I will be out and about on November 3rd. So if you're going to be there, I'll see you in Orlando. That's all I got. Until next time. Cheers, everybody. Goodbye.